Started with 500, on my way to a meal, closed over 100 deals. Can't change us. It's the game changers. It's the game changers.
You want to ask yourself every single day, am I doing everything possible to reach that goal? Don't get too far of yourself. Stay in the moment, stay grounded, and continue to push every single day. Welcome to the Game Changer Podcast. I'm your host, Elijah Bryant, and we got a special guest with us today. We got Nathan. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
We in your hometown,
That's
Tampa,
right.
Florida. So
That's right.
Let's talk about it. How was Tampa growing up?
Man, Tampa, I mean, it really doesn't get better than just seeing the water when you drive on the highways. You come to downtown, food's great here. You know, it's just easy living. You go down to Carrollwood, you come up to downtown Tampa, you go to Ybor. I mean, they're all great places to go.
Yeah, I was just telling my boys, like, you know, everything in Tampa is like 15 minutes away. So it's like a quick commute to anywhere you want to go, depending if you want to get a vibe or you just want to chill.
That's right, yeah. Like Del Mabry, it'll take you, you know, straight down over here or straight down to the suburbs. So it's a great place to live, and, you know, definitely going to be moving back here.
Okay. Did you go to college out here?
No, so I'm living in Dallas right now, doing online school, just still trying to pursue, you know.
Oh, snap. So you're doing this while you're in school?
Yeah, but it's more, you know, it's a lot easier just because it's, you know, I'm getting my ducks in order with college and just, you know, taking classes with a grain of salt. You know, it's not too difficult because it's online. And so that gives me a lot more time to focus on what, you know, I'm really interested in. So I think it's a great opportunity for me to, you know, pursue.
So you being in college, like when I was in college, I was focused on college and basketball, right? Yeah. What got you even focused on the money aspect while you're focusing on doing, you know, your college classes?
Well, I mean, cash rules everything around me. So like what I'm trying to say is I'm sitting, you know, I'm getting to the end of my high school year and I'm about to graduate. And I'm just kind of sitting around and I'm like, man, like, I want to make money. And I've always had that, you know, drive to look for money and ways to make money. And there's always, you can look at e-commerce and then you try that out. You look at FBA, you try some of that stuff out. But in the end, it's not really like, you're not gaining much from it. You're learning some like little online business tips and you're learning from a couple different people, but it's really difficult because it's so saturated. So I wanted to find something that I can use to be a learning guide for the next couple years of my life, but also make good money. And that's where I find flipping land a great way and a great entry into real estate. And it's also a great career that you can have.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I tell you guys all the time, but now before we get into that, right? How'd you even like get into it? Like,
well, it's a funny story. I was actually sleeping in like my free period during high school, and I was in the library under a table, and my now business partner was, you know, sitting across like the room on a computer looking at distressed properties. And I'm like, and I wake up and I hear clicking and I look over and, you know, I see like a rundown Airbnb that was listed for like 265 days. And I was like, man, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, I found this thing called wholesaling. And I was like, wholesaling? And so it kind of started from there. I just dived into it. And I mean, Grayson, my partner, he, you know, he's been a great help to me, you know, guiding me through the steps. And, you know, that's how we became really good business partners.
So you're watching him do it. Get that curiosity, like, what are you doing? Yeah. He didn't even make money at this time.
No,
right?
it was his first day. He saw a YouTube video that night of wholesaling. And so I was like, yeah, dude, tell me about this. And he's like, I'm still learning. Like, I just figured this stuff out. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we started. And I mean, starting with the houses and then looking at those, saying, okay, distressed properties, and there's just a long list of things to go through. Yeah. And it can get difficult for, you know, younger people or just people who don't want to, you know, see a bunch of stuff and have to run through the comps, and it just gets all, you know, it can get a little messy. Yeah. So just keep it straightforward, and that's why we found land.
All right. So now you tried the houses. It's not really working out. It's kind of more difficult. Yeah. Now, what was that first introduction into the land space?
So first introduction, actually, it was watching. So we started, looking at different land podcasts, and we found your podcast about, like last year around May, right?
Okay.
And we watched your podcast, and you were saying, hey, what about land? Like, and it was the first time hearing land. And we were like, oh, wow. You just look at a Zillow listing, or you go on Propstream and you look at a parceled lot, and you're like, oh, like I don't need to know anything. I need a survey, see if it's zoned for wetland. Like you just basic facts you can find online, and so it's a lot easier. And so we're more fit for that, doing that. And so we're like, this is our thing.
So now you watch this video. What's your next steps after that?
So I watched the video, and I mean, we were running through a bunch of different podcasts, but really the next step was talking to sellers. That was the biggest, the biggest thing we had to overcome. And when you first start out, you're calling these people up on Zillow. You see these Zillow listings, and you're cold calling, doing that. You're maybe pulling a list, and you're true people searching every single name. You're going through the grind, right? And then you pick up the phone. So that's already a grind. You pick up the phone, and you're kind of stumbling your words a little bit. You use a script, and it gets a little dicey, right? Yeah. So that was our biggest problem. And so I learned that, okay, I need to sit down for 3 hours in the morning every single day and do sales training. And so that was a really, really big aspect in how we kind of started professionalizing ourselves with our sellers and our buyers.
Okay.
So that was, I think, the biggest part of us getting started, because it's, aiding us now. Because now we know how to talk. We know how to be transparent with sellers and buyers.
What is one tip you could give from your sales training that you learned that you could give the viewers?
Well, I'll just say this. A lot of people say this. Jordan Belfort, big sales guy. Everyone knows him. Be an expert in your field. Because if you're not an expert in your field, you're going to get on the phone and you're going to be like, I don't know about... You don't want to sound like that. You want to be professional. And you got to get straight to the point. You got to be a shooter, and you got to say exactly what you mean. Yeah. And you're giving an offer here. You don't want to waste somebody's time. And also, it could be an elderly woman or an elderly gentleman, and this is their retirement money. And they really want somebody to sell their most prized asset for some of these people. So you really got to know what you're talking about. And also, that doesn't mean you don't have to be perfect while you're calling. It takes time. So start in smaller areas, do residential stuff, easier stuff. Really start, getting into it little by little. Get
some traction, Yeah. So, how long did it take you to get your first deal? Because you're saying you had to do sales training. It seems like you guys had a grind, right?
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get your first deal?
So it was about 4 months, 4, 5, 6 months of just getting, because I got a lot of deals under contract, and I wasn't finding buyers because I didn't really know how to, but I was still building the network while I was trying to figure it out. And so it really just took a long time, because we went from houses, did that for a couple months, and then started doing land. And so it was kind of like almost a new thing, but not really. So we were looking for those builders. We were doing the disposition side as well. And so we were targeting the right markets, but we didn't have our disposition side set up. But once we got that, and once we got a couple buyers, we were like, we know exactly where to attack. We know what our game plan is, and we're just gonna fulfill that, create a backlog. And so my first deal, it took me about 6 months, because I had a 3-month feasibility study. But I had 7 of these deals, and I locked them all up, and I got them assigned. And I had to wait 3 months, and so I was kind of sitting there shaking,
hopefully is it gonna close.
Land? Is it gonna land? And then while I was waiting for those, I didn't procrastinate. I went back, kept
for more,
putting deals in my backlog. And there's a lot of things that you have to overcome. But at the end of the day, the process takes you. You get taken through the process. So, if there's a roadblock and you're like, okay, I got to figure something out, that's a lesson. So you got to learn that. You got to overcome that. And then there might be another thing.
For sure.
There might be a tortoise on the property. So now you got to go back and renegotiate with the seller and then figure something out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But
how much you made, or Yeah, how much you made on that first deal, and how did that go?
First deal, it was 9,000.
9,000.
9,000.
Oh,
So
that's a good one. That feels good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels really good. And I had 6 after that, back to back. So it was like a month. It was like a month, and then it was just closing because of the backlog. And
How are those deals looking?
So there was a tortoise on one property, so there was a big cut. It was $7,000. So it was like, dang, like, oh. But still, I'm not pinching pennies. I'm getting anything I can get.
Listen, most people don't even make 7,000 a month. So you just made 9,000. Then a week over or a couple days after, you making 7. And then you said you had 6 more of those lined up?
Yeah, you just have to get them lined up. And while you're waiting for those to close, I mean, that's your dispositions. I was a one-man show, so I'm like, okay, I have to go back and find more lots. I got to find more lots.
Yeah.
Because I'm hungry, I want to get those.
I tell people this all the time. So the most deals I closed in 1 month was 17 deals.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why I love the title company is because once you get the deal, once you get the paperwork, you send it to them. Now you focus on the next deal.
That's
you
right.
get that paperwork, focus on the next deal.
Yeah.
So this is how you could really compound these deals, and then at the end of the month, you just made 30, 40,000 while doing less work than somebody that's working a 9 to 5.
That's right.
You know? So now you got these deals flowing. You're working with Grayson. How are you guys feeling in this moment?
So we're pretty jacked up, but it's that 4 seconds. You see the wire coming to your account, and you're like, okay, sick. All right, awesome. Next one, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. It's like the burning desire of getting what you want. Like, I want to get more deals.
It becomes like an addiction.
Yes,
I tell people this, you got to get it to the point where this becomes an addiction, because that's when it comes in just overflowing.
That's right. Or it's like your food. It's like you got to eat. You got to eat, and you got to stay hungry too.
You said this one good quote. I want you to repeat it before we started this podcast.
Yeah.
About the eating, if you can remember.
Man, I mean, oh, okay. Well, so when you're looking for your deals, right? And there's you have markets, and you have your buyers, and you send out campaigns, and maybe you're not getting big spreads, right? But you really have to learn that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big the spread is. You just got to get a deal going. You gotta get the small fish, because if you got to survive off the small fish, and if once you start getting used to just eating, then you can start looking for whales.
Yeah.
Then you start feasting off the whales. So
you're gonna get more base hits than you are gonna get home runs. That's
right.
in anything, any business. Yeah. But those base hits are adding up. So when that home run comes, and you got all those base hits, this is where you're really creating more time for yourself. That's why I tell people, I don't even do this for money no more. I want the money so I have more time, so I could be more creative and do more different things.
Yeah.
How much was your biggest deal?
Biggest deal. So when you're looking around Texas, right, you have these giant lots, and there's so many things, so many factors. Okay, when you're looking at a big lot, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And so you need to bring in people. So that's a great thing that I do.
What do you mean bring in people?
You gotta bring in people who know how to deal with this type of stuff, right? So I reached out to this guy in Denton, Texas, Ryan Jackson, and he's a great guy. And so he kind of showed me around, and he said, here are some buyers in these areas. And then I started finding other wholesalers, and so that's what I looked at outside of San Antonio, bigger lots, and I ended up catching one for 48.
48,000.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You got to split that, but it's still, I mean, you can't pinch pennies, and you really got to look. You got to look, and if you don't look, it's not going to be there.
And you know why you got that deal? It's because you networked with somebody that knew the answer to your problem.
That's right.
So you didn't just go through a problem and was like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to just put this in my pipeline or just wait. That's what most people do. They'll speak to these sellers not knowing that these is $20K, $30K. That's a $48,000 deal.
Yeah.
If you didn't speak to that person, you would have never got that.
That's right.
So it's taking that initiative, right? Being relentless. and just networking, like
That's
what
right.
we doing right now.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. Your network is your net worth, man. And you got to live by that. You got to take every day with a grain of salt, and you got to look at people and you got to say, hey, this person can add value into what I'm doing, and I also can add value to what they're doing. So let's make, you got to make the connection. And if you don't do that, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities.
And I want to say one thing for the viewers, right? He's in college. He's taking online classes.
Yeah.
Cashing out checks for $48,000. That's somebody's yearly salary that he's doing on one deal in college. Now imagine with this information, 4 years from now, what that's gonna look like, right? So this is why it's important that you guys get into this game specifically, because if he could do it while being a student, you could do this while working a job or while doing whatever you're doing. You just need that desire. So what does your team look like now?
So my team consists of, I bounce off my business partner. We go hand in hand. We, disposition sellers like together. And then also I have a couple people under me that I just say, hey, let's go out and find some builders for me.
Yeah.
Let's go find some builders, do your cold calling. I'll give them scripts and stuff. And I also have a land acquisition specialist that he looks at markets all over the country, finds some areas that aren't as saturated, and we start doing cold calls over there looking for our buyers. And that's
I like that.
What
you don't need a big team.
No,
like
you don't.
people think you need thousands of people to make this happen.
Yeah.
Like you got a partner, a land acquisitions, and then people that's probably your friends or family that's like, I want to make some money with you.
That's right.
You tell them do this, and that to make your life easier. So now you could get more deals coming through.
That's right. Yeah. And all it takes is a group of shooters.
Yeah.
And shooters are going to shoot. So,
Facts.
That's what you got to get. And if you can get your hands on some young, hungry guys, and just being young, I have a good amount of friends who are, hungry for something, and they're like, hey, I want to make money. Yeah. Well, let me show you how to make money. Let's make money together.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's collaborate. Let's get.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
18.
Yeah, bro.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. That's wild. And I'm like, most people ask me, Eli, like, why are you teaching? Like, you're making all this money. Why are you doing this? And I'm going to tell y'all this reason right here. Like, he saw my video at 18 years old and now is cashing in deals with $48,000 or multiple $9,000 checks. So that's wild, bro. Yeah. So I usually tell people, if we could go back in time and talk to your 18-year-old self, but I can't even say
Yeah.
So I guess if we could go back in time, talk to that 13, 14-year-old self with the knowledge that you have now, what would you tell them or him?
I would say keep doing what you're doing. Don't be dumb. Just stay on your grind. Every day, just trust in the process, and time is your biggest asset. It's like working out when you're a kid. Just get your push-ups. Stay healthy, keep running. Eat good food, and over time, that's going to help you out in the long run. And it's all about thinking long term. That's the biggest thing in business. If you can't think long term, you're just only going to think about short term, ways to grab some money and get out of there and dip. And if you think long term, it's going to guide you, and you're going to care more about what you're doing, and you're going to set yourself up for success.
Yes, sir. So keeping on the topic on long term, right? Imagine 10 years from now, with what you know now about land flipping. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Well, I see myself developing a lot of properties, because buying the land is a down payment. And so I would take that and start constructing buildings, and I eventually get into commercial stuff. And I'd be very interested in doing that. And Tampa, you look out this window, it's beautiful, but there's a lot of things that need to be done. And there's a lot of areas that are gonna be built up, and would love to come back here and build some high rises. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I can't wait 10 years from now when you're building up your community of Tampa.
That's right.
And you got to say it first here,
That's
know.
right.
So
yeah.
Any last words you want to tell the viewers?
Man, I just want to say, chase opportunity. Opportunity is the most important thing that you will have in your life and that you can, grasp. Like, it's there. Opportunity will always be there. And you just got to look for it. And if you don't look for it, you're not going to have any motion.
For sure. I think you were saying earlier before we recorded, like, most people don't see that opportunity. So can you give that red car example?
Yeah, so it's basically the red car theory, right? Think about, so if I asked you, how many red cars did you see while you were, on your daily commute today?
I'm gonna say I don't even know. I wasn't even searching for red cars.
That's right. So say like I gave you $50 for every single time you saw a red car on your commute tomorrow.
I saw 150 of those.
You saw 150. Yeah, the money. Yeah. So you're gonna be looking for opportunity, and that's gonna be on your mind. You got to be hungry, and you got to stay motivated to look for things that can open yourself up to success.
For sure.
It's the biggest thing in business.
Yeah, I hear what he said. Where can they follow you at?
Nate McGill.
Nate
Nate
McGill.
McGill on Instagram. Nate_McGill. MCGIL.
And what about Facebook?
Facebook, Nate McGill.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So y'all got it here first, man. Tap in with the game changers.
That's right.
And if you want the plan on how to flip land, y'all know where to come. Game changers.